from Universitas Muhammadiyah Banjarmasin. I'm very grateful to be re-invited by the university to give some input and sharing gathered from my current research. For your information, this is today's session is actually a sharing on a research conducted in two historical and traditional settlements located in Kuala Terengganu. Kuala Terengganu is located at um, uh, the east coast, near the east coast of Peninsular Malaysia. Can all of you hear me clearly?
Yes, very clear, Doctor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and I am very grateful too, and my special thanks goes to Green Innovation, in which I'm also part and members of Green Innovation Group when I was studying in University Technology Malaysia. Okay, and very good morning to all participants. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi.
I'll start to share my slide. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, good. As for your information, this research is conducted with the assistance of Museum of Terengganu, the State Museum of Terengganu, where the museum is located or encircled by three traditional settlements, which are of unique and have their special character. So, and for your information, Terengganu people had been nominated, not nominated, but had been proclaimed by the Urban and Regional Planning Department of Malaysia, collaborated with Planning Malaysia, the professional bodies of planning in Malaysia, starting from 2013. Both department or both organization had conducted a survey on happiness index, and since 2017 up until 2020, up until this year, Terengganu people received or reported to receive the highest index of happiness. Okay, and that's why we selected the traditional settlement in Kuala Terengganu to see how architecture and planning physical characteristic play its role in determining the social sustainability in both kampung or both traditional settlement. Okay. Okay, before that, I would like to give or define the word terminology of traditional settlement. So, what is actually traditional settlement? Or so the word settlement means the totality of the human community, whether it is located in town, city, or village, with all the social, economic, environmental, spiritual, and cultural elements that sustain inside area, inside one area. Okay, and according to Banerjee in his work, the settlement has been recognized um, as a place with a very close interrelationship between man, setting, and habitat. Okay, at the same time, settlement also act as a significant role in creating human civilization by presenting space to by allocating and presenting spaces to satisfy its inhabitants, okay, both in
Selamat
the
datang di
present
acara.
as well as in the future. While in this research, in this work, the traditional settlement generally is adopting the definition by Nguyen in 2013, in which the traditional settlement represent a unique combination of natural, cultural, as well as urban and suburban social features. Okay. And how does this research is linked with social sustainability? Okay, because by looking into the definition of the traditional settlement right now, we understand that to maintain the traditional activities, the traditional living, it requires a very strong social interaction, understanding, as well as a relationship. So that's why we are trying to, but for this research, we are trying to look into how does the physical characteristic in the sense of uh, planning, architecture, and landscape architecture play their role in upholding the social sustainability in the traditional settlement. Okay, in the sense of social sustainability in this study, it is referring to the society, the study on the society. And sustainability here is referring to the avoidances of the depletion of natural as well as social resources in order to maintain the ecosystem of the space or the area. In this case, is the settlement itself. So, according to the sustainability factors voted by Haji Rosoli and Kumara Suryar in 2016, they categorize social sustainability factors into two categories, which encompasses of macro as well as micro. Okay, in terms of macro, uh, consist of the most basic requirement of the community, like housing, food, clothing, health, sanitation, while micro, the indicators or the factors or the dimension that is under the micro factors is such as natural quality, local identity, safety, accessibility, social infrastructure, or social social equity. Okay, so again, this is another literature review gathered or extracted from okay, sorry. Okay, these are also the result from exploratory review conducted on social sustainability. Okay, if we can see, there are numbers of scholars who conducted this a study on social sustainability concentration. Okay, But recently, okay, starting from 2011 until 2018, people started to realize how physical characteristic play its role in determining or supporting social sustainability. Okay, why it is so? Why it is so? Because this has a very direct relationship uh, with uh, with issues in especially that occurred in the in numbers of traditional settlement in this country or outside of our country. Among the problems are such as uncontrolled change and development, which involve many traditional settlements throughout Malaysia, and such changes are actually threatening the social sustainability of this settlement. For your information, in Terengganu alone, based on the exploratory and preliminary review conducted, okay, from the southern part up until the northern part of Terengganu, we discovered 17 traditional settlements have undergone uh, physical changes due to urbanization, industrialization, and change of land uses. Okay, beside uncontrolled changes, there are also cultural negligence or homogenization of culture that shows the structure of the traditional settlement landscape is actually in a serious or dilapidating circumstances. Okay, and when we go further into the current act or the policy that is supposed to look after or preserve this traditional settlement, we discovered there is a missing link where the heritage conservation policy does not list conservation of historical sites specifically for traditional settlement into the list of um the area that requires uh, further um, further preservation uh, or maintenance. Okay, and what happened? These circumstances have resulted to a suboptimal or non-functional space in which at the end it creates the loss of sense of place and sense of belonging inside the traditional settlement. Therefore, the research today, the findings that I'm going to show you is to share with you how can we play our role, how can we from the built environment background, students as well as researchers and lecturers play our role in promoting our field in determining the social sustainability of our traditional kampong or traditional village from uh, loss or from distinction. Okay, the site studies is located in the middle of Kuala Terengganu, where according to Urban and Regional Planning Department of Malaysia reported that this area seems to be the most happiest people in this country for 3 consecutive years. So, but the study conducted uh, was evaluating the macro factors. Okay, if you can still remember my in my literature review, the scholars mentioned, divided the happiness or well-being is measured according to two factors, which is macro, like job opportunity, health, okay, accommodation, in terms of institution. But in terms of micro, is uh, is is our field, okay, the built environmental field, more on the physical characteristic. So for your information, there are two side studies in my research. First is Kampung Pulau Duyung. It is actually an island, a very famous island long time ago, where Prof. Ismail and his colleague way back in 1998 up until year 2000, he worked hand in hand with Museum and Antiquity Department to preserve one historic building which belonged to uh, a kiai, okay, a prominent kiai in Kuala Terengganu as well as in Malaysia. So the first area or the first traditional settlement in this study named Kampung Pulau Duyung. It is actually an island located near to Kuala Terengganu. Okay, and Kampung Pulau Duyung well known for its traditional boat construction center, where we managed to identify and met uh, three boat makers. Okay, three boat makers, which are among the local as well as it was also reported there are numbers of international researchers who live and learn together on how to make the traditional boat construction with the boat maker. So Kampung Pulau Duyung is well known for these activities. And for Kampung Losong, the second site studies is located not very far. It is located opposite of the island and well known for special food uh, uh, known as keropok leko. Okay, it is a traditional food made by fish. Okay, and it is a must-eat food. Okay, in the morning, in the afternoon, at night by the local people in Terengganu and also the East Coast community. Mm. Based on our preliminary study, we discovered both local communities still exercising most of Malay traditional lifestyle, and they also shared the same physical and cultural characteristic. So that is one of the justification why we selected both kampung for our site studies, beside receiving the strong recommendation from the State Museum of Terengganu. Okay, and through clustered sampling method, 400 respondents, 200 from Kampung Pulau Duyung and 200 respondents from Kampung Losong were involved in the survey questionnaire. Okay, and all the data were analyzed using SPSS and by using exploratory factor analysis. Okay, because we wanted to see the highest loading factors that fall under which category of physical characteristic that support social sustainability in both kampung or both settlement. Okay, uh, the first finding, okay, after we extracted all the factors, there are numbers of factors which we um, compiled in one survey. Okay, but only factors which is higher than 0.3 are included for findings and discussion, or considered in our findings and discussion. So the first factors that receive the highest loading is preservation of local identity. So this justify, and it has a very close relationship with uh, uh, the current condition of the traditional settlement, where since they are living traditionally day by day, so under the highest loading, we discovered the respondent or the resident choose the preservation of rivers, socio-economic activities, cultural and communal activities. And when we see rivers, socio-economic, cultural and communal, this actually encompassed inside the sustainability or a sustainable development goal, which covers environment, economy, as well as social culture. Means that the respondent or the resident, um, they regarded or they appreciated and acknowledged these three dimension uh, are very important to be preserved in order for them to maintain their kampung, the traditional identity. Okay, and followed by landmark, traditional architecture, street pattern, okay, as well as the jetty. Since both kampung is located near the river, so rivers seems to play the major determinant in terms of um, physical characteristic, okay, for the area. And the second factors receive uh, highest loading is safety and security factors, where to them, okay, safety against crime seems to receive the highest load, okay, the highest value, okay. For your information, this has a very strong connection with the bonding, okay, regular social interaction among members of the community, as more interaction happen, will lead to reducing number of conflict among members. Okay. Beside that, um, the physical factors are clear and safe alley, and then abandoned house effect safety. This means that they are really concerned about an empty house which is located around the village. So everybody seems to keep on updating what happened to that particular or empty house, so that to avoid unnecessary social problems. Okay, for your information, okay, these are among the factors that fall under safety and security, which we categorize or which we divided into three aspects. First, pedestrian safety, neighborhood safety, as well as safety against crime. And we, during the interview, when we asked what are the types, is there any social problems that occur in this kampong, and what type of crime that normally happen? Most of the respondent reported that they are almost nil, and zero crime rate. But once in a while, there is also uh, uh, what local or domestic vandalism, or uh, a crime like people stealing local fruits, but just for their own consumption. Okay, and in terms of factor number three, the respondent or the resident uh, uh, reported that satisfaction of maintenance work um, receive highest concern, where to the resident, they said that maintenance work should can be improved further, because a good maintenance work will lead to a cleaner environment, and lead to a healthy community. Okay. Beside that, they also mention about their satisfaction on maintenance work that scheduled on time, strategic marketplace. There are several marketplace spot in this area, okay, which is held twice a week. And in terms of social infrastructure, to the resident mentioned about accessible pedestrian route, strategic mosque location, are also the determinant that lead uh, to the formation of a social sustainability in this settlement. Okay, and again, besides river, the resident, uh, under natural qualities, the resident uh, choose trees, shrubs, and flowers as the highest qualities that fall under natural component, suggesting a very high awareness in terms of environmental significance, or environmental awareness among residents. Okay, and then apart from the natural qualities, uh, the resident regarded permeability in terms of well connection of the primary, secondary, and the tertiary road seems to play a bigger factors that lead to good accessibility. Okay. Besides permeability, there is also two other factors, which is legibility, accessibility, that play a bigger role uh, in promoting the interaction among neighbors and or community. Okay. and the distribution of the socio-economic activities are also scattered. Okay, where each of these social infrastructure is located close proximity, and most of them less than 500 meters radius. Okay, and the availability of numbers of public spaces like open field, the alun-alun, community hall, okay, and open spaces that sit next to uh, balai raya or community building seems to play a bigger role in um, in forming up the bonding among the people in both traditional settlement studied. So, as a conclusion, we can see that for the case of these two traditional settlement, it seems that the resident concerned more on these um, five dimension or five factors, which are preservation of local identity seems to play an important role, followed by safety and security, provision of a good public infrastructure, nature or natural qualities, good accessibility, as well as availability of quality public spaces. So, why does preservation of local identity play a bigger role in both settlement? Because to the resident, the preservation or the uniqueness of the built heritage, okay, or the river, promote their culture, okay, the Malay culture, okay, where for this kampung, the Malay peoples are the highest numbers of community, okay, so they really need to preserve all of this uniqueness, okay, from keep on deteriorating. So um, for to whom this uniqueness should be uh, demonstrated or presented is not only to the visitors who come, but also for the local, for the young generation, because to them, in the interview session, uh, majority of the residents said that we really need to preserve our heritage, because not for the visitors, not only for the visitors to have a look and understand our culture or their culture, but as well as to increase the awareness and the sense of belonging among the local toward what they have, toward what they will inherit, okay, and safety and security also seems to receive highest values in this survey, where to us we found that strong bond among communities really provide spontaneous social control, thus enhance the safety and security in the neighborhood. So that's why it is evident that there is a very low crime rate as well as vandalism in this kampung. in and the provision of good public infrastructure in a very simple form. Maybe in just if you can take a look back at the findings discussed earlier, the the the, the form of the public infrastructure is very simple. It is just in a form of a small sitting area which is constructed by the local in front of the jetty, under the bridge, okay, in front of warung, a small kiosk. But these are the public infrastructures that support uh, and improve the social well-being, lessen social imbalance, and finally enhance the community pride and their living tradition. Okay, and again, even though natural qualities uh, had already appeared under preservation of local identity, but when we do the uh, when we do the exploratory factor analysis, natural qualities seems to appear again. Okay, because this suggests that the resident living in an area which is very close to the river, the swamp and wetland area consists of rich biodiversity, has has nurtured them, okay, and enhance their awareness about the importance of uh, our environmental values, okay, because to them they know that natural qualities ensure ecological resilience in terms of air quality, biodiversity, local food production, which actually can sustain the harmonious living environment and their living tradition. And the second last factors is good accessibility. Okay? To them, to the resident, good accessibility means freedom of movement from place to place, and it is recognized as a basic human right that should be provided. Okay, beside that, good access also allows social opportunity and interaction, and very closely linked to the quality of life among neighborhood. And last but not least is availability of quality public spaces like alun-alun, okay, like the uh, small farming area, uh, uh, and these open spaces with greenery and social infrastructure, even though very basic social infrastructure, are recognized as major contributors to greater human health and social well-being. And if we look into the frequency of this community conducting their social activities, more than 80% of them, okay, more than 80% from the 400 residents who participated, they reported that they will socialize, or they normally socialize with their neighbors every day, okay, every day, not like people in urban occasionally, okay. So these are among the factors that act as the glue that bind the resident. So that's why I think uh, the research justify the need, and it shows our bigger role in upholding social sustainability in such areas. Okay, and based on the review of a social, okay, as a conclusion, based on the review and based on the findings disclosed just now, it shows that social sustainability indicators in both settlement uh, were achieved and has achieved the desired standard for a small to medium-sized traditional settlement. And nearly all indexes in the concept of social sustainability are also achieved um, to maintain uh, and uplift the standard of social capital development. In another research which I conducted, beside uh, beside beside wanted to discover what are the physical characteristics that uh, that support social sustainability, we also research on how does the physical characteristic, a good physical characteristic in this settlement help to the formation of development of social capital in both kampung. And from the finding, we presented to the local authority, okay, presented to them so that they can know what to provide in the future, what to maintain in the future, so that not only the social sustainability for all the traditional kampung is sustained, but also to ensure the happiness index remain as it is. Okay, with that, I thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Zalina, for the presentation. Maybe before we enter the Q&A session, I would like to ask Professor Ismail, maybe if he wants to add something.
Okay, thank you, Hani, from Universitas Muhammadiyah Banjarmasin. I welcome 187 participants to this lecture. This lecture is the fourth. This lecture is the fourth of my research group from Universiti Teknologi Malaysia with Universitas Muhammadiyah Banjarmasin. It is a Jarak service from my research group renovation to universities in Indonesia, particularly those are not well known compared to other good universities. So, to now, we from the 4th of June until now, we have been class today, and there are 8 more to come. So I would welcome those who are from other universities. I just now from Lampung Mangkurat, Universitas Tanjung Pura, Universitas Pancar Bakti, Universitas Putih Mara Ambon, Nur Ambon. If you feel that you would like for my research group to deliver lecture to you and you become host that invite many other participants throughout Indonesia, we welcome that kind of invitation. All right. So I hope that this this collaboration between my university, Universiti Technology Malaysia, with your university would flourish to a better future for our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Okay. Now we come to question and answer session. Is there any question for speaker? Maybe for the first session, we will open for 2 questions. You can also write your question in the chat. I can read it to Dr. Zalina, or you also can write it in bahasa Indonesia. Jadi boleh tulis di bahasa Indonesia, nanti saya translatekan. Dr. Zalina, we're still waiting for the questions. Maybe is there anything you wanna add about your research while we are waiting?
Okay. Yes. For your information, we also conducted a similar study, but in a traditional settlement which had undergone changes, okay, where it is not very far from both a settlement, okay, but their settlement had part of their settlement had been reclaimed and turned into a road highway, okay, and we compared the level of satisfaction, the feelings, well-being among both types, the one which are still preserving their heritage, the one which had undergone physical changes, where the part of their village had been taken by the government for the government to construct a tol lebuh raya, okay, lebuh raya. So of course the level of the well-being compared with each other is not the same, where the concern of the people of which their settlement had been taken is lower as compared to the one which is still preserving. And among the concern of the people who were affected by the development, among their concern, if right now the concern of both settlement presented, their major concern is the preservation of the natural and built heritage, but the concern of the people from Kampung Seberang Takir who have lost half of their heritage, when we do the factors loading, the concern of these people are education. Okay, so they put and highlighted education as the highest factors, okay, which to them is as the highest factors that should receive highest priorities among family members, okay, because failing to protect, because to them failing to protect their heritage has resulted to various loss as well as to deterioration of social sustainability among members in their community.
Okay. Dr. Zarina, we have one question from Aulia Fasha. He asked about the availability of quality public space, What kind of social infrastructure that contributed for health and social well-being? Is that just a padang as a open space, or is there any building to support the health and social well-being?
Okay, for question from Aulia,
Yes.
where she would like to know about availability of quality public space, what kind of social infrastructure that contributed for healthy and
Social well-being.
health and social well-being. Is that just a padang as an open space, or there's any building to support the health and social well-being? For your information, okay, as we are all know that both a settlement studied are traditional settlement. So uh, most of the social infrastructure and social public spaces uh, are, are well developed. Okay, they are already there since the formation of the settlement, but uh, notwithstanding to that, there is also a new development provided by the local government, such as such as constructing a new community hall. But surprisingly, the community hall is not being used by the community. The community, they more prefer to socialize in a place that they use to conduct their social activities. Okay, for example, for uh, special occasion like a wedding ceremony, normally they feel uh, more comfortable to conduct the wedding ceremony in their house compound. Okay, supported by neighbors during the rewang, okay, the activities before pre wedding, okay. Unlike people who live in terrace houses or well planned housing area, when the local government provided a community hall, they prefer to hold the the wedding ceremony in the community hall as compared to their house compound. But for this category of resident, we discovered they prefer to conduct their daily and occasional activities within their own house compound, or to the most is the mosque compound, mosque, masjid, or madrasah. So to answer that, is that just a padang? Yes, to them, because padang to them serve numbers of function. In your case, alun-alun, even though it is just a simple, it just a simple open space, but that simple open space offer the resident a numbers of function. At the same time, it can be a congregational area. At the same time, it can be a recreational area for the kids and the youngsters. At the same time, it can be the socializing area for the adult and the elderly. Okay, it is also the place for uh, the community to have a big congregation, or even the wedding ceremony. So, to the traditional settlement people who live resident, having a simple community area doesn't mean that they have a limited activity. That doesn't limit their activities, but through the bonding, a strong bond among them, a simple area can play bigger roles and various functions.
Doctor, actually she asked her question, especially about social infrastructure of public space for the elderly and children.
Right?
Aulia Fasha,
Okay.
she asked her question about social infrastructure of public space for elderly and children.
Okay. For the elderly, all of because the the elderly as this is interconnected. Okay, the factors, all the six factors is all interconnected. Like the elderly, especially the male, okay, their activities or their daily routine is early in the morning before uh, they go for fishing or farming. Okay, normally they will have their breakfast or in the warung. Okay,
Mhm.
some of them cycling and some of them just walking. There is no specific spaces, because all the spaces and all the open spaces, be it in the form of a street, small open spaces, seems to offer recreational activities, seems to promote recreational activities for not only for the elderly but for the kids, for the uh, woman or the housewife. And for the housewife, early in the morning we can spot during the survey we can easily spot them sitting in front of the jetty, okay, where they send their husband to work, and then they sit together and have a chat before they went back to cook their lunch. Okay, so that's the beauty of traditional settlement, where every activities is conducted spontaneously, and all open spaces is does not limit the activities that they want to to have or to do. Okay.
Okay, we have question from Firda Arifah, and actually she sent it to me in Bahasa Indonesia, so I will try to translate it to you. As you already explained, there are 6 factors has been chosen by the local people to increase the social sustainability. So is it possible for those factors to change according to the local condition of in different area, or is there any factor, or is there one factor that always be the most important factor to increase the social sustainability?
Yes. As I shared with you, when I do the comparative studies between the preserved uh, traditional settlement and with another traditional settlement which had undergone um, several physical changes, the the factors time, and not only due to several duration, but also due to different condition. Okay, depending on types of changes that happen, or the degree of changes that happen to the settlement. It is not fixed.
Not
It
fixed.
is not fixed.
So it can be different according to the local condition.
Yes, yes.
Okay. We have another question from Ainun. She asked about, is there any recommendation for cultural facilities as a part of physical characters to preserve the local identity in both kampung?
Cultural activities.
Yes, cultural facilities.
Cultural kampung Pulau Duyung, the youngsters, okay, the youth had started an non-government organization, okay, and set up and the organization begin from from a small organization, and now uh, and which was originally operated from their home. Now they managed to rent a gallery in Kampung Pulau Duyung, and in the gallery they set up several cultural activities. Okay, not only to accommodate the activities among the youth, but also the elderly as well as kids, and they also promoted their activities all over Terengganu, in which from that single organization, I was told that this NGO managed to create or to form several NGOs, cultural NGOs in other districts in the same state, in the state of Terengganu.
Okay.
And according to the NGO, okay, according to the members of the NGO, they regarded that a well preservation of heritage has led to a stronger community development, as well as a relationship with the local authority and the state government. Okay, because normally the state government sometimes they are not aware what is happening and how active is the cultural activities in this particular area. Therefore, when they do not aware and they do not realize that there are several active activities, uh, made them uh, hard for them to recognize the uniqueness, or it is also hard for them to uh, acknowledge the significance of uh, of uh, of the cultural or built heritage that is available in the in the kampong. So we really need to promote from time to time so that people are aware. For your information, this NGO has started uh, a festival, a cultural festival since 2017, which involving heritage NGOs all around the world. Okay, and which also include the participant from Indonesia, Holland, England, Australia, and many more.
Thank you, Doctor. We still have around 3 more questions. The first one from Mr. Andi. How do we start planning informal settlements, which already have their own local wisdom, when we as a planner need to create further strategies for this type of settlements? Yeah.
I,
Maybe what he wants to, maybe,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
I think it's about informal settlements instead of formal settlements.
Okay. How do we start planning informal settlement which already have their own
On
local
local wisdom.
wisdom? Okay, especially as a planner. Okay, in this case for a matured settlement. Okay, a matured settlement as what we are discussing today. So the planners or the architect role is more on enhancing, okay, uh, the, or upgrading all the facilities instead of recreating or redeveloping, because such built heritage, for example, traditional architecture, once lost, the loss is irreplaceable. You cannot construct a similar structure like that. But how can we play our role in uh, in enhancing this special characteristic is through perhaps regeneration strategies, okay, adaptive reuse rather than redeveloping. Okay, because if you look into all around the world, people go to Jogja, for example. People go to Jogja not to take a look at a modern building, but rather the visitors went to
Tradition.
Jogja to go to Kota Gede, okay, to go to the Masjid Agung, and then go to the Kraton. Okay, same goes to the people who went to Borobudur. Okay, so that's why places like Borobudur, Jogja normally receive the highest numbers of tourists year by year. Okay, so that's how we should play our role in uh, when dealing with a place that consists of a traditional architecture, okay, traditional culture. Our role is more on regenerating, okay, rather than redeveloping.
Yeah, I agree with you. Okay, Dr. Zalina, we have another question. This is from Rafi. How do we maintain the tradition of local people in the midst of plural areas?
Okay, how to maintain the tradition of the local people in the midst of
The
uh,
plural areas.
plural areas. Okay. Is it rural or plural?
Maybe rural. I think it is rural areas.
Okay. How do we maintain the tradition of a local people? Is, as I said, through strengthening the social capital. The social capital, there are three layers in social capital development, where neighbors among neighbors, neighbors relationship with other neighbors, other community from other kampong, and then the third layer is the relationship of the community with the local agencies, other agencies that can support the sustenance of all the traditional or cultural activities, because among the challenges faced by uh, by all residents who live in a traditional village, uh, like uh, like the one that I studied, is of course among the challenges is funding. Okay, the funding, the lack of fund, short of funding has has play detrimental factors that can curb more activities from happen. So from by having a good relationship with government agencies, okay, who actually has the funding, so that can help for you to maintain or sustain the local tradition of the resident in the villages. Beside that, there is also you need some innovative features to be injected in the traditional activities in order to attract more crowd, and as well as to fulfill the needs or the aspiration or of the youth group, especially. For example, that I shared just now, the there is uh, an NGO who perceive the the importance of heritage, so they set up an NGO, but by injecting some innovative ideas, so that it may fulfill the current aspiration of our youth.
So, doctor, it's like some kind of community empowerment to the
Yes,
local people.
yes.
So, yeah, I think last week we had a session with Dr. Liza from Urban Regional Planning, and we were talking about community development, about tourism areas. So I think this topic is still related with our topic today.
Yes, yes, indeed. Yes.
Okay. Now we have another question from Reza Pahlevi. Do Malaysian government has a special regulation for provision a public space or open space? A special regulation for
Okay,
public space.
for any new,
Sorry, doctor?
yeah, uh, for your information, there is there is no specific regulation for the provision of a public space, but for open space or green space, yes. Okay, uh, previously, uh, it, any new development, okay, the developer was required to allocate
Mhm.
10%
Yeah.
from the whole size of a development area to be allocated for a recreational or open space. So 10%. Last time it was 5%, and it has been increased to 10%.
Okay. I think it's almost the same here. The same
Okay.
regulation. Yes. Okay. Now we have question from Rahima Sabas, and this question goes for you and also Prof. Ismail, how to build the social and economic capability in traditional community.
Okay. Considering the current trend and situation, promotion is one of the important step that need to be undertaken by this community. And then networking not only among your neighbors or local community, but also to the other other community in other district, perhaps in other state. And secondly is networking. You have to start or the community need to start to develop a good relationship with several agencies like tourism agencies, because there's a lot of advantages we have right now through the social media. We can connect ourselves and promote ourselves to those agencies. Unlike before this, we need to set an appointment, okay, and have a formal meeting with them before they really know what we are having or what we are saying. But right now, if you have a very good product, people can you can what you have many sort of way of promotion right now as compared to previous years. Okay.
Okay, I think that would be our last question, but she also would like Prof. Ismail to answer the question.
All right. Yeah, thank you for that. Rahima Sabas, I would like to focus on children's on the social capability to gain friends. Meaning that you need to have space for them to make friends. Such spaces could be a simple space where there is a gerobak, where there is a warung, for which that they create their own space. This space will be visited many times. When they visited many times, that space become favorite place. So for children, to have a favorite place is one of their social well-being, because favorite place will lead to call social competence. This is a thing that happening to this thing is happening now to many children in the urban spaces whereby they are lack of social competence. Yeah, this is a big problem now, because 76% of population in Malaysia are 76% of Malaysia are living in the cities. Children are not having their own social agency, their friends, and their competency is declined. Therefore, provide an open space, they will make their own favorite place, which leads to their secret place. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Prof. I think due to our limited time, before I close the session, I would like to draw a short conclusion about the presentation. So there are 6 factors affecting the social sustainability in the study area. The first one is the preservation of local identity. The second one is safety and security. The third one is provision of good public infrastructure. And then the fourth one is natural qualities, good accessibility and availability of quality public spaces. These factors might be different, depends on the situation of the local area. And also from the questions, I also would like to make a conclusion that the community empowerment is also very important uh, when we want to create the social sustainability in traditional area, as well as we start to preserve the area. So I think that's what I can conclude for today's presentation. So maybe I should return the event to Rifda. Rifda, okay, thank you.
Yes. Okay, thank you to Associate Professor Dr. Zalina Harun for the information and knowledge which have been given to us. May it be useful for us.